Hello and welcome back to Chapter 7, Lecture number 41. So we've completed most of the castle, and what I'd like to do is merging the castle with the terrain. So how that works is we want to enable the terrain. So let's minimize most of the collections and we enable the terrain. So now we go to the wireframe and we select all the objects, deselect the lamp and the terrain, and let's move this castle a little bit more upwards. So right there. Great. So because we use the blockout as a reference, this perfectly merged with the terrain, and that's a great thing. All right, so I want to make some more adjustments. So we created this entrance and we need to make a sort of a path to this gate. So left click on the terrain, and what I'd like to do is go to the wireframe and select these vertices and go to the solid view, just deselect them, and we're going to move these upward. So enable proportional editing, press G, Z, and scale this a little bit so we have a nice path, and then we just deselect the top ones and move this slightly more upwards. Alright, this is a very small path, so let's make this circle a little bit bigger, and I press S and Z so we can just slightly move them more together. And this is sort of a small hill, needs to be a bit smaller, and the entrance as well. So we'll keep working on this area, so just make this a bit randomly, but now we have a nice sort of a bridge without a bridge. Okay, so this is an important area. So look at that. So let's go to the camera viewport. So what I like to do is left click on the camera, and I want to go for a focal length of 27. Maybe we make it 30, but just this will work for now. And let's take a look. Let's lower the camera a little bit. All right. So I want to work on the terrain and add some displacement because we already have the muddy terrain, or we can also enable the shading or tweak the shading a little bit. So let's duplicate it, and we want to have the roughness, make us non-color data, and we put the color into the roughness. We'll duplicate it again, add a vector normal map. And we combine these two with each other. I have to select the normal map, otherwise it won't be displayed on the map. Normal. That will be it. So a specularity of, let's go for 0.02. And we probably need to change the amount of this, well, change the scale. Oh, turn off proportional editing, scale it a bit more so we have more detail. So because I want to work on the terrain, I like to hide the castle, otherwise it will slow down, and definitely hide all these collections because we need to scroll and scroll. Main building. This is just a pain. There's no fast way. I was hoping to have a sort of, oh, there's the slider. That's just perfect. So tower, windows, and just hide the building. All right. Left click on the terrain, and we go to the vertex group and mud disp underscore disp. Naming is very key, otherwise it's very hard to find it. So let's go to weight paint, and I have to find the radius, and I like to just paint it over. So right there, just go around the terrain. This is just the first setup we will improve this, of course, but we need to start somewhere. All right. And we can now just paint this over. Okay. All right. Just want to have most of it to be selected. And I'm thinking about are we doing this right? Because what we want is, I made a mistake. That can happen. We just go for a zero weight paint. And of course, we need to add the weight on the borders. So it should be that there. Yes, just paint this, and then we will just smooth it out. We want to have just a very dense weight paint on the terrain where the water is matching, and we use a lower weight, and we will add this right there, because we don't want to have the same weight on each side. So there we go. And in front of the camera, you want to have some spots more more strength than other ones. But let's fill this with sort of yellow around it. There we go. And we have it all with paint. And as I mentioned, you want to have some areas to be more dense than other ones. You will see this when you have a top view or something that's showing the terrain from a higher perspective. And maybe a bit more. Just randomly. Okay, definitely sun on this area where the camera is. And we want, let's go back to the object mode. We want to add some hills. Just some very small variation on the landscape. And you do this randomly. So I'll pause the video and you can continue doing this to add randomness on the terrain. So we'll see you in a second. Alright, I surrounded this terrain with some small hills. We also want to grab the sides and move them slightly downwards. So go around the muddy terrain that crosses the water and try to move these down. That will definitely add a very nice effect. Okay, I will pause it and good luck. So I surrounded the border where the water is matching with just some heat variation, and we also will do the same with the terrain where the castle is. You maybe want to enable the structure into the terrain, so you will have some visibility. And just very smooth, maybe some more upwards. This is a very key process because yeah, the end result will show you how beautiful it will be. So I'm going to delete this bar because it's frustrating me. Okay, and you also want to just push this more upwards where the tower is. Same for these. Just a small addition. Right. So we keep working on this, but we have a nice variation on the terrain. Alright, so in the next lecture we will add the displacement and working on the roughness on it. So stay tuned and see you in the next lecture. Bye bye.